what is the auditing process? Because I think that's something that, someone might have this realization or see an opportunity in their earning potential or their lifestyle and go, okay, I need to make a change. And then they make this, this massive change from in-person to online, or sometimes it's gradual and then veering off into online specifically or only. But then they just stay on this new path forever. How do you audit your systems? How do you make improvements? Have you historically judged when to veer into and out of the box and back into softwares or back into spreadsheets? Like, what is the process there?
So it's been pretty basic for me. It's when a problem happens. So what I started seeing is, in the very beginning, like, it's teething issues. So you start to pick up on what the common problems are, and you track the common problems. So, certain softwares, it's like, oh, you couldn't track certain data. It's like, well, that's a problem. Like, I can't create customizable metrics to be tracked for individual clients. I don't work with the same client in every aspect. Every client has a form of variability that has to be there so that I can gather that data and make the informed decisions. Now, if the constant problem is that I can't customize the data, I look for the solution to customize the data, whether that's a new training system or a new program, or eventually coming, spreadsheet, and then coming out of that is the more times a problem occurred that I unfortunately have rebuilt my systems a stupid amount of times. But every single time it's occurred is when there's been a problem, and then I literally sit down, I look at that problem right there and then, and I go, hold on, this is going to occur again. So it's looking at a problem that occurs, understanding or having the foresight to go, is this going to happen again? Is this a once-off? Is this something that I need to provide a solution for right now? And is this going to be a bottleneck within the system's ability to scale? And a lot of the time it is, and that's been the problem, is these things are not, that problem is going to slow down or stop your scalability. So you find the solution. And a lot of the times that has been coming back or coming away from a software that I then have the flexibility of, or the ability to customize it on the fly, do things very simply. One of the biggest problems that wasn't necessarily a problem of a client standpoint, but was actually of my time management, was you need internet connection for softwares. That's a massive issue. It's like, you want to be in the back of an Uber, yes, you can tether, signal doesn't work. A lot of these apps need a decent form of internet signal to be able to load or bring up the pages where you're programming or looking at data. Google Sheets, you just work offline. And when I get internet again, it just updates everything to the system. To me, that was like one of the pivotal moments in my entire business of, I have the responsibility that I can now work wherever I want to work. It's an opportunity, but it's a responsibility that I actually have to work now. So I need to make sure that any time that I have available, I need to be working. If I don't have internet access or access to internet, I can't work. That's a problem. It's like, that was like my main, like one of my big issues, well, probably one of the other issues, which I've told you, unfortunately, with a software that I was using. I don't really want to get into that, but essentially, like, that was my main problem. Like, I want to be able to work anywhere, anytime, without the only bottleneck being like, do I have my laptop and is it charged? That's it.
Yeah. There's nothing that looks worse than, like, I obviously follow a lot of coaches in the space. We work with them very intimately. Is the story post of, attention clients.
I can't stand
Oh
that.
my God.
You've got
dude,
their
like,
number. Send them a fucking message.
Yeah, there's like, but it's not even the message you're sending to your client. It's the message you're sending to your potential clients.
Correct.
Which, and I use the word potential very generously in this case, because they're likely not going to be your potential clients, right? Every time you post that, you give Mac 5 new clients.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
he's going to respond to them.
Well, it comes down to the auditing process, right? Of like, if you're running into this problem, comp rep, for example, right? You travel around, you found somewhat of a niche in the comp rep space. Those are long days. I've been there, I've been backstage, I've been, posing rooms and pump up rooms and all that, and it's a lot. But like, you can't project that any of your clients are like your kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have clients that I work with in person, and guess what? I do have favorites. I have guys I really like to work with, and I have guys that I tolerate working with. Right. And I've had guys that I've chosen to not work with. But, you can't project that out. Like, everyone will have their day, but it's like, as long as, like, I think of this coming from the commercial gym model. I worked at a commercial gym that charged, on a monthly basis, as most do. And there's stat holidays where legally they kind of have to be closed. But the gym I was at in Canada, they were open for a certain point. They would have holiday hours. But because you were on contract for 365 days a year, the contract is two ways. You pay them for 365 days. There's a service that is provided to you 365 days a year, right? I think a lot of people don't realize that or make that parallel. It's like, hold on, you can't cherry pick the stuff you liked coming out of your old job and not the stuff you didn't like. It's like, no, you still have a contractual obligation to service your clients in some capacity. It might be something akin to holiday hours, but like the laziness, the projection of just an overall lack of care or lack of foresight to see this problem coming. When show days are. Yeah. Nothing fucks me off like that.
Yeah, but that's like, to add on to that whole thing, it's like, I travel, I do this, I go to comps and stuff like that. The best response to message that I get and I send to all my clients when I know that these things are happening, I send them a message 2 weeks out. And like the next check-in that comes in, everyone's like, hey guys, I will be traveling from this date to this date. You will get your check-in responses. Please understand that communication may be slightly delayed. That one message there solves 99.9% of all problems that could occur, because I'd rather get ahead of it and have the foresight of that than sitting here and I've got clients messaging me and not being able to respond to them, and they sit there going like, hold on, why am I not getting my communication? Why is it a little bit later than it generally is from that? Where all I did was 2 weeks ago is I've notified them. It's easier to notify them, tell them that there's going to be some form of delay versus asking for the forgiveness from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So Mac, I want to talk to you. I want you to actually speak on something that we talked about the other night.
Yeah.
Because we had a conversation about making decisions around clients devoid of the impact of the monetary reward that comes from it, right? I think a lot of trainers get into this space, and they get into this space with the intention of making money, of course, but they're in a place where they have to make money so that they can continue doing what they're doing, right? But the conversation that you and I had was about making decisions out of your client's best interest, right? And that's in itself a retention model, but at the same time, there's kind of this gap that you need to bridge, right? Of getting to the place where you need to make money so you can keep doing what you're doing, as opposed to being in this place where, okay, money's an afterthought because you have the money coming in and you can focus on making the right decision for the client in that situation. So from you picking up, leaving Sydney, moving online completely, what was that process like in bridging that gap?
It sucked.
Yeah.
To be honest, like it was one of the hardest, not just decisions, but processes to go through because, one, I had no money. So
that's a hard thing.
That's a hard fucking decision.
That's stressful.
And it more so sucked from the standpoint of, like you mentioned, is I had to take on clientele that didn't necessarily fit what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. However, what I would do is I approach that with every situation of I could learn something from this. This lesson is either going to be, hey, I really don't like working with this type of individual, or maybe it's I need to learn how to better my communication skills. It's a me problem. A lot of the times what I found with clientels that I don't like working with, other than some really assholes, like it's a me problem. I need to learn how to communicate what I'm trying to get across to an individual in a different way. There's sacrifices that need to be made. And this is one of the hard parts, the hard decisions is as you're building your business up and as you're kind of getting into these things, you unfortunately do need to take on clients to make money. Right. Okay, don't sell your soul though. And I think that's the second part of this is I have values, I have morals, I have a standard, and I have a type of clientele that I like working with from like an ethos standpoint. Right. But there are also parts that don't fit my mold. What I did is I would look at the aspect of that client or look for the aspect of the client that I really enjoy in the shittier clients. Because then that kept me going to the point of attracting the people that I did actually like working with or that I could thrive and work with in a better manner, get better results. And eventually the people that I didn't like working with, it's like, well, I just don't want to work with you and I'm going to move you on.
What gets me is like, look, every man's got his price. Yeah, sell your soul at the right price. I think one thing, and I think social media is to blame. It's hard to have these conversations without talking with the inundation of social media. Is look, you don't need that much money.
No.
Yeah.
Like I somehow lived overdrawn in my bank account for like a really long time. And I think that recalibration tool is, I would go as far to say now in the experience I've had in talking with the coaches we've spoken with, thousands across the world, that learning how to do more with less is your best asset starting with business.
Absolutely.
And now it's to the point where I deliberately look for situations where I can dig myself into a hole just to recalibrate, like, okay, if I can still, like with business operations, we have a partner that we profit share model with, and we're trying to make a great experience for one of our courses, but the experience for the course isn't just for the students, it's for the staff internally, and it's also for our partner. Like there's a book, and there's this what's his name, Golden Circle guy. Anyways, doesn't matter. He wrote it's a book called Leaders Eat Last, and it's like that idea that like, look, man, like if you're the one collecting the value from the transaction, extracting money out from value, I think is a really good point of discernment. Is because if you can build value in the relationship, that is a multiple of whatever dollar figure you'll make, right? That saves you on advertising costs. That saves you on marketing. That saves you on emails. That saves you on client acquisition. Like, and I think people aren't willing to sacrifice, and it's like, because you don't really know what sacrifice is, right? Like, if you post a Seneca quote online, or if you post some bullshit on the Daily Stoic, and you don't for the rest of that week eat canned tuna and oats only, I don't want to hear it. Because I think it's like putting yourself deliberately last is something that I think is consistent of people who, A, and most importantly, provide the most value. And the reason I put that A and most importantly is because that's what they put first. But B is like, they're kind of making the bag. You kind of do that. Like, if you want to be selfish, do it that way.